Welcome back to the shop. We are working on a 01 2500 Chevrolet today that will not go backwards. This is a buddy of mine's uncle's vehicle, and they were out on Cumberland Island, a little island off the coast of Georgia, and the transmission was shifting fine going forward, but one day it just decided it didn't want to go backwards anymore. Reverse is 86th. So they used the winch every time they had to go backwards. He said they rigged the winch up to pull the truck backwards. So we are going to dive into this thing today. We're going to drop the pan, we're going to drop the valve body, and we are going to measure the reverse servo rod and see if the rod is too short. Sometimes on these 4L80s, your rod will be just a touch too short, like just a few hundredths or a couple thousandths, and it won't push up on the band tight enough, and then you won't get any reverse action. So they make a kit to lengthen that rod, and we've purchased that on eBay, and we're going to dive in there and see if we can't get this thing to apply reverse without having to replace the transmission or totally dismantle a transmission, which is not my forte. I don't rebuild transmissions, but I will do some repairs internally on them if I need to, but I've never totally rebuilt an automatic. You know, put converters in, valve bodies in, shift solenoids, stuff like that. I've just never totally disassembled one. Usually just buy a revand or something at that point, or have somebody build me one that's a, you know, expert at that. But we're going to dive in today and learn something new. All right, we're going to jump up under this thing today. These GM pans, a lot of them do have a drain plug. I have ran into it where you can't get them out sometimes, but we're going to attempt to do a drain with the plug and get fluid out of this thing so we can get the pan down. All right, so we'll get this sand all over this thing. This thing was on Sand Road Island. All right, we're gonna just take a little fluid sample here. She's a little burnt. Don't really smell bad, it's just dirty, I think. That could be band material and clutch material and stuff, but this thing has a lot of miles on it. We'll see when we get into the pan, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to lengthen this rod and it won't be, you know, that it's just broke the band or burn it slap up or something like that. I'm hoping we can save this reverse by lengthening the servo rod. That is what we are going to try to do. So we're going to let that thing drain out real good, and I'm going to go get a filter for it. Another thing on when you're diagnosing this 4L80 for no reverse situation, they say if you hold it in first gear and, you know, pull your gear shifter down into first manually and you give it gas and you let off, it should kind of have some transmission braking, you know. It'll slow itself down. If not, if it acts like it just goes to neutral, that's when you're definitely having this problem with this reverse servo, because I guess that reverse band, or that band that servo activates with that rod that's a little too short, also affects the way the transmission brakes. That's just another little tip on trying to diagnose if that's what you've got going on. If all your forward gears are working fine, first, second, third, fourth, all that stuff's working okay, and it doesn't, in those gears, when I tested this one, those gears, when you let off the gas, seem to have engine braking, but first gear, if you held it manually, Did not. And I went up to second manually and let off on it. It did. But first it didn't have any braking. Engine braking, transmission braking, whatever you want to call it. All right, so we got the oil drained out of the pan. Went and picked up a filter and some fluid. I've already ordered the kit to lengthen the rod for the servo, and I believe it comes with the O-rings for the servo. So we're gonna pull this down and get the valve body out of it. 4L80s, you got a little bit of crap in the way, so you got to kind of move your pan. You got to move your heat shield down a little bit so you can get in there to the bolts, and then you got this shift cable that's in the way. So I'm gonna pop it loose there at the ball. I'm gonna pop this clip out. I'm gonna slide the cable out of the way. That way I can get to the bolts easier. This one right here is especially a pain in the ass, and this one. So we'll get that out of the way. No big deal. Just pop this clip out. Boop. Pop that off. Boop. Slide it out through the bracket. Zoop. Slide it out of the way. All right. Once you have the pan down, it does not want to come out because of the Y pipe, drive shaft, and the cross member. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 2 bolts out of the transmission mount via these holes here. I got a screw jack in place. I'm going to spray some lube on my bolts. They're pretty crusty with salt and sand and whatnot. And I'm going to try to lower this cross member out of here. And hopefully I can get the pan out. Well, I didn't have to take the cross member out. I didn't have to take the drive shaft out. I just took the 2 bolts out of the the trans mount, and jacked it up a little bit. And I was able to twist it out, kind of like, I'll show you with a gasket. I turned it this way, cleared the mount, and I just kept rotating it and pulled it down like this. So that is how we did it. The pan doesn't look that bad. There's a little bit of crap in there, nothing big. No big chunks. I'm gonna get the filter down. It's gonna make quite a mess doing that. So I'm gonna not film it. I'm gonna grab the pan. My oil bucket's full and I hadn't been able to pump it out yet. So I'm just using these drain pans. But I'm gonna hold it with one hand and pull the filter down because quite a bit of fluid's probably gonna come out when I do that. I'll try to film it and see what happens. Already got some fluid in here, so it's making this thing shaky. I'll utilize my jack here. We didn't get a big fluid drain. We did in the filter. Not out of the tranny. Let's see, flip it over. You got your typical clutch disc material, you know, on a filter. No biggie. Okay, so the reverse servo, try to film this without getting dripped on, is here. Okay, so we've got to get that down, and I believe we may just be able to take this shift solenoid out to get to that bolt, and you got all these perimeter bolts instead of dropping the whole valve body. I think that's what we're going to do. I think I can get it out like that. Most people that I've just, you know, never done one of these, so I did a little research. Most people are taking the valve bodies out, but we're going to see if we can take a different approach and save a few steps. Pulling this shift solenoid out of the way so I can get to the 10mm bolt that's above it. There's a Torx bit. It's a 25T. And so I'm just going to try to walk this screw out. This thing is covered in sand. I mean, everything I touch, sand showering down on me. And that's the last thing I need inside this transmission is a whole bunch of sand. So I'm trying to be very delicate, which is difficult. I'm just going to try to pop this solenoid out, and we got some fluid coming out. Okay, so I've got the bolts out of the servo, and it's quite messy. I'm gonna try to get some of this to drain out. It's running down my arm, and see if I can get that out without lowering the valve body. All right, I was hoping I could snake that out, but the spring pressure on that servo didn't allow me to rotate like I thought I was gonna be able to. So I started unplugging my solenoids, and I got to take all the bolts out of the valve body so I can lower the valve body down and just set it down somewhere clean. I'm going to have to generate somewhere clean, piece of cardboard on the ramp or something. Okay, so I figured out a way to get that servo out without taking the valve body all the way down. So I just loosened up all the screws, and it popped down maybe an inch or so, and that allowed me to get that servo out. So there's the hole of the servo. And here's the servo. Here's the cover, it holds it up. It's got a spring on it, so it's got 2 springs on it, looks like. This is the rod that you can take out, I believe, with that little clip right there, little E-clip. And it's got a couple O-rings, one here, that we're going to replace. Let me grab the kit and I'll show you what I got. Okay, so what I've bought here comes with the new gaskets, O-rings, whatever you want to call them. 1, 2, and this is the 3rd for that. There must be another one I don't see in there. Probably around the internal of that. I bet that slides out, but not sure yet. And then you get this little cap that extends approximately 225 thousandths of an inch to the end of this stem. Now from what I've gathered, and I'm new to this, but what I've gathered, this works on a Turbo 400 or 4L80E. So that loses reverse. So you take these springs out, and so you can push this all the way up in, and then you measure how deep it's going in the hole past its normal depth, normal seating area, and then you know how much you need to add to the end. And it does say in these instructions that you can grind these ribs off to make it easier. And some people weld on the end of this. We'll take a welder and just weld a little bit of material on and then grind it back flat and massage it. I just thought it would be easier to buy this kit. I do have a welder, but it seemed like a lot of grinding and trying to make it look right and fit right again. So I just thought I'd buy this. Hopefully that will not have to grind too much off the tip of that to figure out what we need here. There's that other seal. Okay, so I'm going to push down on this and I'm going to release that clip. Take all that apart. Just trying to do it slowly so I can remember where it freaking goes back together. Slide the pin back in with that spacer. You can put the clip back on if you don't have to. So we're going to push this back up in the hole and see how deep it goes. See if we can do this without wearing a whole bunch of transmission fluid. You're supposed to push all the way up. And it's only supposed to go 80 thousandths. And you look at the back side, and it's way more than that. So we need to hammer that tip on. Okay, so I've tapped the little cap extendo deal on. We'll stick it back in and recheck and see where I'm at. Okay, with adding the tip, it looks like we've got about 80 thousandths. 70 to 80 is what I was told. We had way more than that. Probably had 300. So we added 225 thousandths to get back down to 80. So we're gonna put this thing back together and see what happens. I've been taking a bath in this transmission fluid. That's the bad thing about doing trans work over your head. Like that. It goes like that. Okay, so I've taken some trans jelly, which is basically just to my knowledge is Vaseline. I've coated the inside, coated my stem, coated my O-rings, and that'll make everything slide back together nice and easy. Should. And I did take some brake clean. I cleaned these parts out real good because they had a lot of clutch material in them. Oh man, it's like Wild Kingdom in here this spring. Birds, I've had 2 birds building nests in the shop, in my big green egg, in my 4-wheeler. I mean, they're building nests anywhere they can figure out a spot to build a nest. It doesn't feel right with that going in there. It keeps wanting to go in crooked. I don't think there's any special way it goes in. Just want to jump from one side to the other. The spring goes down in the middle. Maybe I need to go ahead and put that in to keep it from jumping. Make sure all your O-rings are well lubed. And like I said, I use this Transgo jelly. I think that's what it's called. I've had it for years. We use it at the dealerships. The transmission warms up, it just disintegrates in there. I probably use way more than I should, but I like to make sure everything's well lubricated. I don't want any O-rings getting damaged on re-entry and over a stupid little bit of Vaseline. When I put that C-clip back in, I pushed this thing this way down on the floor, gave it a little pressure and slid the clip back in. I didn't film it, but that's how I did it. I believe we are good on that. I'm gonna put a little trans gel up in the bore where that goes up in and clean myself up a little bit. I've been taking a bath in this ATF. It's dripping all in my beard, my hair, my face. No fun. All right, I'm gonna attempt to put this thing back in. I can't film it well because I can't get a good angle and hold all the parts that I need to be holding at the same time and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna do my best. Get this thing back up in here. Whew. Ah. Oh man. This video, by the way, has been going for like 3 days. I keep getting stopped because I had family stuff come up. We had baseball tournaments out of town over the weekend. I started this on Saturday morning. So this video started Saturday morning. This is now Tuesday morning. I just had a lot of distractions going on and people coming in asking me questions and getting a lot of people calling wanting quotes on repairs, and I just haven't been able to oh shit, I don't know if I can get that back up in there. How do I get that out? Let me tell you, doing it with a valve body in place is not easy. Is it a shortcut? Probably not. Damn it. I'm gonna have to take the valve body down. I got it out, but I don't think I can get it back in. This thing is raining on me. Okay, so all the balls came down on the valve body. I don't know if I should leave them sitting there. Probably should. I had to replace the valve body gasket because it tore when I pulled the valve body down. There was a piece right here stuck, and that servo came down because of it. So I had to clean that up and re-grease that, and I had to go get a valve body gasket. So I got it all Vaselined up, got the check balls in place, and about to stick this thing back in its place. Hopefully we can button this thing up and she'll have reverse. Fingers crossed. Okay, I got the pan back up, got filter in, of course, got the shift linkage hooked back up, got fluid in it, and we're gonna fire this thing up and see if it'll take reverse. Yes! Yeah. It works. It goes backwards. Before, you could hear it clunk, you could hit the gas and it would just free rev and not go anywhere. It goes, like I said before, earlier in the video, it would go forward, no problem. You held first gear and tried to decel, it just kind of coasted. But if you had it in second manual, if you decelled, it would brake. You know, like normal trans braking. So if you have no trans braking in first gear, holding it manually, and you have no reverse, good chance that you can save the transmission for how long? I don't know. Hopefully for a long time. There wasn't anything major in the pan other than some clutch dust. Thing's got a lot of miles on it, so that's normal. I don't know if this thing's had a transmission put in it before, but we fixed it. So reverse is working. I'm gonna let this thing warm up, and we're gonna make sure the fluid level is proper, and then I'm gonna go for a drive and make sure everything's good and we don't have any leaks. Call the customer and let him know that he can come get this thing. Man, that was a learning experience. I didn't know anything about the 4L80E transmission before this. I've owned them, but I've never had to crack into them. I mean, I've serviced them before, just, you know, dropping the pan and putting the filter in them, which is a royal pain. I mean, a royal pain. And this thing is covered in sand on the bottom, so every move, I wish I would have put a garden sprinkler up on it for a week or something before I try to work on it. I mean, there's a beach on the floor under it now. So trying to work on it and trying to keep all that sand out of the inside the transmission's a challenge. But we got it done, and we're gonna go for a test drive here in just a minute. All right, went and drove it. Drives great for what it is. 350,000 miles on it or something like that. It's a lot of miles. 335,000 or something. Anyway, goes through all the gears, goes in reverse, has plenty of power in reverse. It's not slipping one bit. It'll spin the tires in reverse. So he's happy. Saved him from having to replace the transmission, and we learned something new. And hey, if this repair does apply to a turbo 400 or a 4L80. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Hit the subscribe button down there in the corner if you don't mind. Give me a thumbs up for the video. It helps spread it around the channel, and we're trying to grow this little business. We're trying to grow this channel, so every little bit helps. We appreciate you watching. Come back and check me again in the next one. Peace.